Through the gathering of lived experience, a space emerges, the space between. As an artist, I live in the space between. It began long ago with my parents. My mother's from an island in the South Pacific. My father's from a small town in Wisconsin. I grew up in a home raised by two very different people. I'm constantly bombarded by the idea of who I am. Between living in the Solomon Islands as a kid and Wisconsin and all the places in between, I'm fascinated and overwhelmed by the nuances that make me, me. I'm trying to portray authentic experiences, and I utilize personal history as a way to create art. My parents' interracial marriage had a profound effect on my life. It's physically apparent. I'm brown and white, a biracial person of color. When I was born, my island relatives called me Joe America. It's a term of endearment, but it also set me apart from other Pacific Islanders. To them, I was an islander with a white father. When my dad picked the family up from the Solomon Islands and moved us to Wisconsin, we were noticeably different in our new environment amongst the predominantly white neighborhood. Growing up and navigating between the differences of my parents was a challenge, but I learned to navigate that. I could see the differences in things like my mom's practice of magic versus my father's Catholic faith, or in how we handled injury through the healing properties of plants versus a trip to the doctor's office. As the space between expanded beyond my parents, I began to have my own experiences, own things that I started to identify with. I became acutely aware of human behavior, relationships, tropes, cultural differences and codes. I thought about my wrestling with traumatic memories, pain, and regret. I even questioned my identity. I felt propped up, fake. I found refuge in the innocence of youth, in a starlit night, in a swimming pool. I began to record my dreams, personal mythologies, things that started to mean something to me. You know, when I was a kid, I didn't think much of death. I may have even mocked it at times. But that reality was shattered 2 years ago when my sister passed away with cancer. I think about marriage, becoming a dad, humor, learning to love. Several years ago when I was in art school, my professor suggested that I concentrate my work on the trials and difficulties of being an impoverished minority. He assumed that that struggle was part of my Pacific Islander upbringing. I didn't understand. My father did well for our family, and I never felt deprived. I didn't fault my professor for that assertion. It actually helped me to understand who I was and how I understood the world around me. So I began a very dedicated path towards understanding my personal history. And sometimes art was made, but most of the time it was recorded in my journal, in my sketchbook. I'll give you some examples. Lake Tomahawk. Still morning summers with my grandfather, lying on the boat dock with my ear pressed to the planks of wood, listening to the subtle clap of water against the boat. My backyard. In my backyard, we fished, spearfished, threw nets, laid out gill nets, and collected shells along the shores of Utule on the island of Tutuila. A sacred view. I tried to fathom, standing there at Marpi Point on the island of Saipan, the countless lives lost or forever changed by the destructive measures of World War II. The fox. For just a split second, I saw it, and then it was gone between the evergreens, its red, orange fur glowing against the green backdrop. My mother's dreams. My mom would wake me up in the night and tell me her lucid dreams. She would talk about the long-nosed character that would revisit over and over again. I began to make them part of my dreams and my experiences, and the long-nosed character took the form of a spider. I hear you in my bones. It's the feeling that my ancestors cry out within me. If I could just peel away the layers, maybe I might hear their voice, and I might know what to do. As all artists work, they start to move down a path of iteration. They go down that rabbit hole to explore what it's going to bring them. In this next few clips, I'm going to show you a process by which I move further down that path. And in that path is a recording of that experience. Recollections of being in dense tropical forests rising through the sky. Memories of rain, dark clouds clapping on the jungle canopy. Feet sucked into the mud and waterfalls spilling onto the earth. Looking up at pockets of light beaming through the foliage, blurring the line between earth and sky. Mud drips from my hands and down my legs. It dries on my skin, cracks and breaks off. As I leave the mountain, I look back and take in the immensity of it all. My brothers and I, we love to fish, whether we were in Wisconsin, at Lake Tomahawk in Minocqua, or in the South Pacific in Pongo Harbor. But I loved my grandfather's tackle box more than I loved fishing. With the beautiful colors and the shapes and the designs, I was so attracted to the things that were inside of his tackle box. It got me thinking one day when I was watching the movie South Pacific, and there's a scene where Bali High comes into view. And I began to think about the lure of the exotic, the idea that the island is an exotic place. And I thought, let's make some exotic-looking islands with funny, magical names to go with them. Lucky Rooster Needle Popper. Silver Ghost Magic Martian. Spinner Danger Eye Trap. Splash Wicked Ghost Water. White Cloud Caution Flasher. Be obsessed. As you investigate personal history, find that space between and search it out. When you get there, you'll laugh, you'll cry, you'll find things that are extremely funny and embarrassing, but it all means something. It's valuable and important, and we need to share it. Thank you.